Hi, I'm Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Okay, so we're here. We're doing another album review. Today's album review that we've been checking out is the band Lorna, and the album is called Pain Remains. We've all had a chance to have a bit of a listen to this over the last week or so. And yeah, we're going to give our feedback on what we all each thought of it right now. So, Andy, you take the lead on this one. What did you think of Lorna?
Not my usual genre. Again, it's a band I have heard of, talked about a lot. I think they've done quite a few sort of big festivals recently. I'm sure Kirk will confirm that. But I really enjoyed this album. Wasn't sure exactly what to expect. I was quite surprised, really. It's their fourth album, I believe. What they've done as well, I'm sure fans have picked up on it. It's a discussion point. Is they used to have the standard spiky deathcore logo. They've now gone to sort of like the plain font, which wouldn't look out of place on the Art Tangent Festival. And I don't think they'd fit. They'd fit on that as well as a performing group. Anyone listening to this would think this is the far end of the spectrum of extreme metal. It is absolutely intense, incredible musicianship. Some of the lowest vocals I've ever heard in the song. There's almost, it's indecisive. It's so low. It sometimes doesn't register, and it's the sort of gore grind pig squeal in there on occasion as well. Really good use of the vocals. Keyboards as well. Used sparingly but well. The opening 7.5 minute song is the favourite of mine. Perversely, the title track, which is broken into sort of three parts that closes the album, was sort of like the weakest part for me. It sort of didn't strike as much as the sort of earlier songs, as if the album was sort of recorded in two parts. But yeah, there's passages as well which I sort of go back and revisit just to sort of really sort of clarify what I'd heard. They've managed to combine some of the slowest and fastest music in the same passage. I think it's like the trigger drums and the vocals and the guitar riffs, that combined is an incredible combination of power, intensity, but glacially slow music as well. Really, really good. One I'll be going back to many, many times.
Excellent. Kirk, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I suppose I should give some context. So this is the most anticipated album in metal this year. It's very much like what Spirit Box was in 2021. Lorna Shore, ever since they did that EP last year, and I Return to Nothingness, there's a song on there called To the Hellfire, and the number of reaction videos it spawned on YouTube because of the inhumane velociraptor sounds at the end, where he just keeps going. He does this really strange death grunts that I don't think anyone's ever heard before. So we already knew that 2022, they were going to be the band everyone was ready for. If this album was 45 minutes, easy contender for album of the year. 1 hour and 1 minute, too long. I agree with Andy. Ironically, that trilogy, based on the title track, that's the weakest part of the album. Track number 1 is absolutely mind-boggling. I love it. You mentioned keyboards, Andy. They're very much influenced by that German composer Karl Orff. People will know him for the Omen soundtrack. Yep. That gothic orchestration, and they use that so well. But when those opening riffs come in, they're like really violent Meshuggah riffs, that violent staccato technique. And then you're right, some of those low range vocals, and then he will completely change the register and do not even a pig squeal. He does that on some of the vocals. He'll do this really high death metal scream that people like Mike Patton were doing on Angel Dust, and they helped to pioneer that, and it just blows your mind. And the guitar playing, the first 4 songs, I think every song has got a sweet picking solo. I have to say, by the second half of the album, I am a bit tired of that. I think with sweet picking, it's the hardest thing to do on a guitar, and the guitar duo in this band are absolutely exquisite. You were talking about some of the slowest moments and most gruesome you've ever heard, Andy. Those breakdowns, like you say, with the drum triggers, and they're just playing open string, eight string, drop G riffs, aren't they? But you combine that with his ferocious, inhumane mouth noises. I think that's the best way to describe it. And you just haven't heard anything like it. Don't get me wrong, they're not the first band to mix black metal with deathcore. That's Carnifex that did that. But there's just as much Cradle of Filth in here as there is Carnifex. So yeah, it's very much going to be spearheading that blackened deathcore scene, which we're starting to see emerge. And you're right, anyone listening to this who doesn't listen to metal will straight away think this is noise, this is atrocious, it's grotesque. Some of us like that, me and Andy definitely. There are moments where it's grotesque for the sake of it, but it's so much fun. There's a song on there called Soulless Existence, and that also is an example, one of the few examples where you've got this symphonic extreme metal, and often the guitars get buried in the mix. And this is one of the few bands that keep the guitars prominent. Just when that one is becoming all about the vocals and the drum triggers, there's this really crunchy riff in there that won't be out of place on a Whitechapel album. So there's a lot to unpick on this album. Expectations are high. One more thing I will say, when you get an album like this, like with Spirit Box last year, I always think, is this what the equivalent is to 1989 when Faith No More released The Real Thing, which changed rock and metal music? I don't think it's quite got there yet, and this album has got a few flaws. It can be a bit repetitive, but I will end it by saying it's not the album of the year, but it could end up being the most important album of the year in the metal genre for 2022.
Okay, so hell of a statement.
Well, it's not the album of the year. So.
No, but you said quite important. Okay.
Yeah, what about you?
So I went in there because I'd done a reaction for one song as a video reaction. And I can't even remember how I came out with that video at the end, but I know it wasn't something that I was massively impressed with in the sense of it kind of engaged with me. But I do remember talking about how technical it was and the technicality of the track when I did the reaction video. So I went into there knowing kind of a little bit what I was setting myself up to. At the end of the album, after listening through it, I felt so fatigued and drained.
Really?
It absolutely beat me down because I like melody, I like groove. And I didn't get that. I got none of it. What I found was that I was constantly, also as a drummer point of view, you're constantly just trying to find where the hook is, find where the rhythm is. So you're kind of listening to a part going, okay, why has he changed that? And you're constantly, that's where my fatigue came from, because my brain was trying to almost plan the track out in my head. And it's just impossible to do that. I literally wrote one sentence in relation to this album. Very busy, very intense. And that was literally, it's just too much going on for me. That's my biggest
in the end as well, isn't it?
It's just too much going on. It was too long for me. It was just too busy for me to wrap my head around, especially in one listening, just sitting there listening through that and just trying to, it's the only way I could describe it to someone. Very busy, very intense is the best way I can describe that album. Because if you are going in there going, I want some solid groove, something I can kind of rock out to, and a nice bit of melody, you're not going to get that from that album. Will it make a difference will it be a standout thing within the metal genre? I don't think it will, because it's not accessible to enough people. But within a certain market within the metal genre, it will make an impact within a certain theory. Well, within the real heavy extreme areas, it's going to make a lot of the bands that have rested on their laurels, who think heavy is a certain thing, they're now going to have to up their game because they've suddenly realised that this band's come out and just shown them how intense you can be. And you've got bands out there that think they're intense, and then they've gone, well, actually, you're nothing compared to this. This is an intense band, and I think that's what that's going to do within that area of metal. But with the people that their favourite song is Metallica's Enter Sandman, they're not going to sit there get over to that's not going to make any difference to them in the slightest. But I'll be intrigued to see what happens with them. They're very interesting as a band, though.
Yeah, the irony is with this, they've been going 10 years. And they're on the third vocalist now in Will Ramos, who clearly, it's a game-changing performance that he put in on this album and the EP before. The irony is, because of their metalcore and deathcore origins, these are not taken seriously amongst the Puritans of extreme metal. So
Right.
if you listen, I can guarantee you, people who listen to Dark Throne and Mayhem a lot of them will hate this because of they'll see it as plastic extreme metal overproduced. I'm just mesmerized by how heavy this is, and if people are not going to call this extreme metal, what the hell are they going to be calling it? There's not much deathcore left in there, other than those really brutal breakdowns where the vocals sound like the last bull in the queue waiting for the stun gun in the slaughterhouse. You know, that agony, you can see that others are being executed and they're next. That's the only way I can describe it. So let's hope it does get some of those Puritans on board, because if you're saying to me this is not heavy, what fucking drugs is it?
So let's get our votes in. So is it a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Just a question for Kirk before we finish. You know, he's the man who knows inside out the sort of technical side and the production side of the music. You said the purists, you know, the Mayhem and the Dark Throne fans won't like it because it's overproduced. Are the vocals must have effects on them. The drums are triggered. You know that is something that certain metal fans are going to shy away from, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this would be difficult to replicate live, wouldn't it? The vocals, if you listen, a lot of them are double tracked. And if Will Ramos is doing that in a studio, do it, because you only get one chance to put out a record for immortality. Maybe some of the guitarist or bass player doing some of those backing vocals, or even the drummer. But yeah, I think what we get here is a band that every instrument is really pushing it as far as it can go. And that did bowl me over. I was bedazzled by that. I just think it was too long. I think you liked it more than me, Andy. It sounds like really, because you said you wouldn't normally listen to this.
Yes, it's not a genre that you mentioned Whitechapel, you know, not a band I know, and deathcore isn't something I'm particularly familiar with. I've got a few albums, but it's the name that's buzzing around, isn't it? You know, as you say, it's highly anticipated. A lot of people talking about this. People are thrilled it's out and they absolutely love it, and they say hope you like it too when you do the review. And yeah, I really did like it, but again, agree with what your comments are. Started very strongly. Second half, not so much, and as we said earlier, the trilogy at the end was the weakest part.
Fair enough. So where are we? We're thumbs up or thumbs down. So from me, it's a thumbs down from me for that album. Kirk?
Yeah, it's a thumbs up for me. The expectation levels were just impossible. I'll just repeat, it's not album of the year, but it might end up being the most important album of the year.
Okay, so it gets a thumbs up from the A.D.K channel. Now, if you like this video, please do subscribe, click the bell icon, like and share. We'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.